Okay,
Cool.
sorry.
All right, go ahead.
All right, I was trying to darken the shadows, like you were suggesting,
Mm-hmm.
and like make the shadows sharper, but I was having a hard time doing that.
Oh. Mm-hmm.
The way I had it set up was that I had like my fill lights on one layer and then like my sunlights on another
Mm-hmm.
layer.
Mm-hmm.
And like most of the shadow was coming from the sun
Mm-hmm.
glare. Um, and then I was trying to like mix it in nuke and stuff so that way it'd keep more of the shadows, but it wasn't working for me.
Okay. Um, that's interesting. Yeah, because I think if you have broken out the layers with the lights, then you should give you a lot of control. If you want, we can, yeah, if you can give me the layers and I can take a look at like what you mean by like how the layers are broken out, and I can possibly help you with that. Or especially if it's just a still, like rotoing, there's no shame in rotoing. Absolutely no shame. Whatever it takes, man, man. Yeah, they're on peanuts. We roto so much.
Oh
So
yeah,
much.
okay.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely for a still frame. No shame in rotoing. Do whatever you gotta do to get it look right. So
All right. I'll post those for you in just a moment.
sure. All right. Okay, Justin, while I wait for the video, I'm not sure if you have a version up. I guess I'll go ahead and start with Christina. So, hi Christina, nice to meet you, and glad that I'm very excited that you're posting your. Is this your first exercise? That's super exciting. So yeah, um, I think you're off for a very good start as far as
Linda,
like. Mhm.
you're not sharing your
Oh
screen.
shit, here I go again. Oh my God, just keep
No
forgetting.
problem.
Thank you. I owe you. Shit. This keeps happening. Anyways, yeah. So I think this is working real it's working well as a start, but I have a lot of questions for you if you don't mind. First is I was looking at your mood board and you said that you are looking for something that's more of a sinister feeling. And from looking at these images, I am not quite getting that sinister feeling from a lot of these reference that you're posting. Um, and also, not a lot of them look very similar to your current work. So I'm kind of curious if you can narrow it down to um, maybe a particular film or a character, like what kind of character that inspired you for this setup. Um, I know the character itself by the design and the way that the pose is already tells a lot of story, but it would be very helpful if you can find something that is closer to what you are doing right now that can help me to give you more precise feedback. Because right now I'm looking at these, I'm not sure exactly which direction we would like to go. But if I'm just looking at this image myself, by myself, I think it's pretty efficient. You have a very clear separation on the read of the character and the background. But I think I was start with if we're going to continue just working as this image as a base to maybe start looking at the details in the background because right now the buildings are very dark against the night sky and we're missing a lot of details that we can possibly see that can help shaping these silhouette area. Of course, if that's the mood you're going for, like you're going for more film noir look, that a lot of things are more crushed and silhouette, we can work with that. I'm just not sure if this is something that you're going for, especially with the night sky this bright. Usually, it will contribute to a lot more light source to the background as well. And in addition to that, I'm kind of curious what these bright spots are. Um, they look like lights, but I'm not quite sure yeah, if the lights, maybe we should actually have contribution of the light on the geometry itself instead of just an emissive. I know it's unreal, so probably, especially in UE4, emissives are not actually casting light. So we'll probably actually have to put actual lights in there to make sure they feel like actual lights. And the character lighting part, I am kind of curious, like where the key light is coming from. Right now I see two light sources. One is this flame right here that you have on the bump that is lighting the character's face nicely from the bottom up, and also lighting this area, and then very nice shaping on the bump itself and the hands and fingers. However, I'm still seeing another light coming from camera that's like somewhere here that's giving this specular and also some of these lights on her body and also the hand. So if that is if there's a light source somewhere here, we might have to integrate into the background a little bit more. I'm not sure what the setup of the scene is. So, or if this is not what you're intended to do, maybe we should try to slightly darken this fill light you're having, or and change the color to possibly more coolish and match the background better, so we can still have the sense of the shaping of the character, but doesn't feel more disrupted by this warm light source coming from somewhere on the camera on this side. In addition to that, I think one of the last thing I want to mention is I can see that you have some really sharp shadows. Let me just turn this down. And um, and also some multiple shadows here. So I'm kind of curious, is there anything that we can do to soften the shadows a little bit? Because sometimes when you have a lot of these sharp shadows, we can see a lot of strong contrast and lines that's kind of competing against what we're trying to look, which is probably the gesture of holding the bump itself and the face. So these are just a few things that we can start with. If this is what the mood you're going for, and you want to keep working with this composition and current lighting, or if you're looking for a certain type of mood in some film, particular character, particular kind of moment, we can look at your. If you have any new references, then we can focus in on that as well. So that's my feedback for now. And then let's see. Cool. And let's see, who is next? Oh, I'll circle back to, let's see, who, well, I guess Bipul is next for now. So Bipul, I see that you've made an update on this, and yeah, I agree with you. I think we're getting really close to the final part of the fun part of like the polishing here, and I think the glow you have here is very efficient. It really convey that sunny feeling that we have, and also the character overall, the shaping and lighting are all more balanced out, so it's not as distracting. Sorry. So a few things I kind of have questions for. At this point, my notes are more like all like real more minor, so I'm getting a little more nitpicky, and you can let me know if this is like not something you're looking for. Also, these are just what I would consider a lot of CBB notes. Like could be better, but depends a lot of time depending on how much time you already spend on it, or in production how much time you have left. If these notes don't get done, it's not a deal breaker. It just would be nice to have them in there. So one of the first thing I want to ask is, I see that there's this reflection looking type of things over here. I'm not sure exactly what it is. It just kind of it draws my eyes and draws my attention to it because they're relatively sharp against a very blurry DOF foreground area. So I'm not sure if this is something that's in the lens, or if it's a render pass that didn't get blurred out by the DOF pass. I'm just kind of curious. And it's not a big deal if it's how it is. We can probably just cheat a little bit, add a little blur on it to soften it out so it doesn't draw that much attention over here. But just kind of just some small things on the corner. And another thing that I saw that you darkened a lot of the things that she has to tangle in her hair that help us focus more on the faces and other things and the pose itself. But the scraps themselves are still a little bit glowy. I'm guessing part of it could be the material themselves. They look like they have a lot of subsurface, that we can possibly darken them, even if it's just in comp. So I did like slap comp, just slightly like darken them a bit, so you can see that hopefully they don't draw as much attention. Or else, if we look at this and like zoom out, these are really bright and very saturated, and they are the only super bright red thing in this shot right now. So definitely draws viewers' attention to them. And then let's see. Oh, another tiny thing I noticed is overall it's on the hat. The hat right now has really great shaping. I can see from the key side, transition to the fill side. However, it does feel like it's the key will be the key on the hat is not really kind of quite matching to the key on the board, which is coming mostly backlit. I feel like the keys could be somewhere closer from here, closer like frontal facing to the camera. I think it will be very helpful if we can kind of maintain that feeling of shaping of the hat, but have also a more feeling of a rim light. This is a very slappy comp, but I hope you get what I'm trying to say. Just have the room light that's similar to the shape of the boy's face, but still have a light to dark transition from the key side to the fill side. Also, this is like kind of what I put with what you have right now, and the rest are a fairly small thing, kind of to taste. These final notes are definitely to personal taste. One thing I did was I added more light wrap on the characters, so you can see that on these kind of darker areas, I added a little bit more light wrap here, like just to soften the transition from the bright sky to the character themselves. And I also start playing with some lens effects and lens dirt, especially in your case in this composition. The camera is fairly close to the water surface, and it could be interesting because you do have a plenty of negative space to play with, to have water drops on the lens to create a kind of more realistic effects. But it's definitely up to you because this is more a stylized look. And also, I was also playing lens flares a little bit. I see you already have some lens flares in there. I kind of just was bumping a little, just something that's a little stronger. But this is, I'm not even sure about this. Lens flare is definitely a very personal tasting. Yeah, it's really depending on the director and the project what it's calling for. If it's a lot, it definitely can be very distracting. So it's a double-edged sword, and these kind of lens texture and lens flare stuff. So it's up to you. The light wrap, the lens dirt, and lens flare, these are just something that we can possibly explore if you're interested. If not, I think the image as itself stands very strong. So yeah, you just let me know how you feel about it. Yeah, we can pretty much wrap it up if you're ready to move on, or if you are not happy with it, we can just let me know what you're trying to improve and we can keep working on it. And I think, yeah, and then Justin, so Justin, I think, yeah, your update, I see that we have closer to the end of the shot frame. The first thing I was noticing was, is the camera still kind of slightly out of focus on the tree when the camera gets this close? Or is there something that we're setting that just always slightly out of focus? Do you know?
That was just an error on my part. The ZD focus,
Mm,
just an error. So yeah, it will be in focus in the finals.
sure, don't worry. Yeah, just kind of curious. Um, yeah, I think I see that you update the material, some of these detailed materials, and I like that it's more desaturated, so it can help stuff focusing on up here a little bit more. And compared to your previous version, I have some question if you don't mind. I see that these area got darker. compared to earlier, seems like. I couldn't really do a one-to-one comparison because the camera is not exactly the same, but I can see that over here, yes, some fill light from the sky, the bluish kind of fill light, and over here, these area got darker. Do you know what could be doing that?
No, I don't actually. I'll have to go back in and check. Yeah, I didn't even notice that, to be honest.
Yeah. So I think overall, definitely, I think this is very close to, if you're happy with it, I think this is very close to the final. If you want to move on, just a few things that I'm noticing is because, again, like right now with these dark parts, these now become the strongest contrast area. So it's now I pay a lot of attention to it. Um, Also, another thing I just noticed, which I probably should have thought about earlier, is I noticed there's a little bit discrepancy on the key light direction when where the light is coming this way, it's hitting the floor, which means the sun angle is high enough to hit the floor, but we're not hitting any floor over here, considering there's a lot of window also have opening. Do you know if is there anything like I can see a little sliver over here of the sunlight hitting the floor, but I would
I actually put a blocker in the back there, but I can kind of
uh
open that up and it can go across
sure.
more. But I had like a little blocker at
Uh
the end back there.
Nice. Yeah, I think it will be nice to have something that's similar kind of shaping just so we don't break the continuity of in the foreground we have the sunlight coming through on the floor and later on we can have a little bit of here as well with similar angle. We just have to be careful to make sure it's not too bright. That's competing against the tree. So
Yeah,
that's
I can do that for sure.
awesome. Yeah, it's just something that just noticed like, it's like, huh, where did the sun go? Like sun kind of stopped here and then not hitting the floor. And um oh, then this is a super minor note. It's not really. It's just like well, it's I will categorize this as CVB notes. It's this material right here. This one I know we updated material. So right now when the camera gets this close, unfortunately it has this sharp, strong highlights that kind of is slightly distracting compared to the rest of the stuff we have. But again, this is a very minor thing. I just have and if we play in motion, I might not even notice it. But because we're looking at one still frame, so I have time to like take this apart and really look at every little detail. But so yeah, you don't we might not have to do anything right now. I have to see it in motion and see how that works. But yeah, I'm just kind of curious because I do feel like the feeling of this area in the middle changed a little bit from your last version to this one. Kind of curious. But how do you feel about it?
Yeah, I like it. I think it's getting really close.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, it was a really fun, like, kind of started off as just an experiment in Unreal, and then I just kept having fun with it. So I was like, I'll just keep going with it. So
Nice. Yeah. I think it's definitely very like it was very successful on its own. So yeah, I'm glad you're having fun with Unreal.
yeah, it's fun. It's fast. The render, that's what gets me is the render, like the well,
Yeah,
no render time. So,
right,
and then I was
exactly.
able to pull it into to Nuke too. Oh, sorry.
Oh yeah, no worries. I would say like lighting artistry. You don't have to wait for render. What?
Yeah, exactly. I was sold. I was like, yes, I'm in.
Yeah. Okay. I am going
Yeah.
to,
Thanks, Linda.
of course. Um, I'm gonna quickly circle back to Abhishek's and Ashley's work just in case something that written wasn't clear enough. So let me see what I wrote to Abhishek. Yeah, so overall, Abhishek, um, right now, at least on my monitor, this scene is pretty dark. We have some really, really darks in here. Even when I expose up, there's a lot of dark areas on the boat and on her hair. So in my Slapcom, I did a few things which were expose up the scene overall so we can bring up just the detail a little bit more. I'm not sure what you guys are seeing on your monitor. Uh, I'll talk about the monitors. I know Nigel was asking. I'm going to talk about it later. so we can just see the details a little bit more. I also brought up like these nice shaping you have on the character's hair, so we can get a more sense of shaping. I would say that we can possibly have this like this level of brightness of detail in this really dark area, so it's not just a flat black area. But this is to taste, because in live action film, a lot of time they'll let the black go really black. In animation feature, that is more rare. They usually like to see more details in the dark. Um, so I think that would be nice. That was same thing we'll be applying to like these really dark areas on the boat. Yeah, I think in general, yeah, crushed blacks is something in animation feature they try to avoid. And I think, well, the biggest thing, I should start with this first. Like, I think your shaping has made a huge improvement. So awesome job on that. I can see you got a nice soft transition here. The boy's face now looking really appealing. Same thing with the mermaid's face. I should look at here. That is helping that you can bring out the looking at her facial feature more, but have a nice feeling that this is coming from her tail. So I just did a little bit touch up on possibly having a little bit more stronger kind of light, almost bounce light. Well, in this case, also the key light that's underneath her chin and also right under her eyebrow. Because usually when you have a light source coming from the bottom, these are the areas that catches a lot of light under the nose, under the chin, and under the eyebrows. But this is a very stylized character, so hopefully you can get these kind of shaping easily in lighting. If not, there's no shame cheating in the comp. Just something that has a little stronger contrast comparing this is comparing like this, and I have a little bit of highlights that's over this area, just a little more interesting. I also added a little fake rim and comp just to help separating her back against the background, because before it was kind of blended in together. So I think having a rim light on her will really help bring her out. And uh, what was it? Yeah, another what's the other thing? Oh, I have some question about this reflection. It doesn't appear to me that it's actually. Oh, actually, yeah. Right now you have this reflection right here, but I feel like it could be a little bit brighter and stronger considering how bright the tail is in the scene. I'm kind of expecting to see a brighter, kind of almost similar these kind of glow level kind of reflection in the water. So I just did a really dirty, like a fake reflection up there, but this will probably need to be distorted by the water surface. So you don't, this is not a good reference. It's just something that I'm expecting to see like similar brightness level that is coming up that would show up on the water surface, or maybe not. What do I know about glowing mermaid? But it's just how my brain interprets it. And let's see. Yeah, and as far as the glowing area, I see that in your references. Where is it? Where's the life apply? Guess I don't have it in here. For the glowing patch area, if we look at your reference here, we can see that they have a lot of bright spot, but overall they have like the region are not evenly bright. They have some brighter area, some darker area, some in between area. So there's more interesting variation across the water surface. So I think we can possibly do the same with um, with your shot, that we can have a little bit of variation on the bright and dark spot where the glow is happening. And also on the glow itself, I'm kind of curious how you are achieving the glow, because it doesn't feel quite. It almost looks like it's the specular of the light, and you are brightening the specular up and then put it in comp, it doesn't feel like there's something that's under the water that's actually glowing. So um, yeah, let me know how you're currently achieving these, and we can probably talk about what we can do to make it feel more like the bioluminescence feeling like this. Because this is jellyfish, if I remember correctly, and it's tricky because they have a lot of variation. They are ones closer to the water surface and a little bit underwater, and then they get a little darker. Um, so if we're just doing it by just like having a light there or having a shader pass that's doing this, it's kind of hard to recreate the same kind of feeling. So yeah, we probably have to consider other options to get this kind of look. And let's see. And yeah, I also, oh, not this one. Yeah, I also lift up the bottom of the boat a little bit. If there's go under the water right here, I can imagine this will be a little bit brighter. But yeah, overall, I think this is coming. It's made a huge leap, so really good job on that. And yeah, let me know if you have any questions. And then to Ashley. So, Ashley, yeah, I think this is also made a huge improvement on matching to your reference for Birds of Prey. The color and overall mood is getting a lot closer. But so now the challenge is how to create a similar mood, but that's for this shot, which the composition, the character, and the environment are all quite different. And this one is also one of the kind of like one point perspective kind of shot. So, and one of the things when these kind of we have foreground elements, the midground, which is where the main characters we're supposed to be looking at, and the background, these doors and walls, and these walls back here. So it would be great if we can create some kind of separation between the foreground, middle ground, background, because right now if we look at this in black and white, they're all kind of similar in value. And um, the character doesn't particularly stand out. If we take this highlight out, the character will probably blend in with the background just value wise. So in my very slappy slap comb, I darken the foreground a little bit. Um, Actually, it looks like I darkened it quite a lot when I look at on another monitor. So we can at least separate the foreground from the middle ground. And another thing I was wondering is the key light source, since you were going for the bird of prey kind of feeling that the light will be coming from the window and hitting, I see in this case, I'm assuming the light coming here and hitting the floor. And actually it's all the way throughout from these windows. I'm assuming there are two more windows, a few more windows down here. But missing that the background also receiving the same light. So that's why I added these bright area over here, since these are windowsills, I assume, that they'll probably also catch some kind of sky fill if not this if the sun is not directly hitting them. So these will be a little bit brighter than the rest of the wall right here. Right here. Um, but I also wonder if the angle of this light feels the light on the floor is matching with the character. That's why I was asking if like we can do anything to help the characters to see the environment a little better. Because from the angle of the shadow, it seems like the light that's hitting the floor is coming somewhere more top down, like this. And but the character's lighting itself is somewhere that's more that's not as high up, it's more sideways, that's kind of soft that's coming in here. And the shadow sharpness, I can see that it's casting really sharp shadow on the floor, but on the character itself, I don't see the similar kind of sharp shadows. So I'm kind of curious if you have different lighting rig set up for the character in the background. If you do, we can possibly modify, tweak them a little bit so they can both kind of meet in the middle possibly. And I also think that we can try to bring some of the contrast back on the character. I'm not sure if this is fog or some kind of atmosphere you have, or this is comp, that I can see that there's an overall atmospheric feeling, which we do have in your reference that you show, but we can see that they pretty much have that kind of feeling only behind the character. So the character itself actually still has some pretty strong contrast, some dark shadows here and here, and some nice highlights, brights. And I think we can possibly do the same thing. We do have some nice brights here, but we can possibly have some dark shadows in the areas like under the foot, on the black shoes itself, and possibly just having like some darker shadows like under the chin. If we can see, this one has a lot of bounce lights. She's holding a book, so yeah. But also she does not have a strong sunlight that's hitting her. So the sunlight is actually hitting behind her and the wall and the floor, but she herself in this particular shot, she's getting some kind of nice soft studio lighting. So it's definitely a little bit different from what we have here. We just probably have to figure out what we're trying to do, whether we want to keep the character all in shadow and cheat this feeling like this, or do we want the character to be lit by the sunlight coming from the window, having these kind of strong shadows. And oh, and I think one more thing is this really, I'm not sure, this is not really a lighting note, because now we're seeing the overall, the area got a lot brighter, so we can see a lot more details. So I'm wondering if there's anything that we can do for the shaders and the material in this shot. In a way, your previous version almost did us a better favor, because when things are in the dark, we can hide a lot of things. However, when things are getting brighter, we kind of see a lot of details that the metals kind of read differently in this kind of lighting, and some of them are relatively flat compared to some of the textures, like over here, compared to the background on the floor, and these nice little streaks on the tile. So while darkening this will help hiding some of the things, but overall, if the materials can improve that, because after all, these foreground, these bars and these walls, they do take about a third of the frame. It would be nice to get more interesting materials on them, but if that's something that you're not currently looking to do right now, it's just you want to focus on lighting, that's perfectly fine too. Yeah, but it's just a nice to have. And I think this is a very small thing right now. We don't have to worry about it. As I'm seeing some really bright glow that's also affecting the character. I'm not sure exactly how you are achieving the glow, but because they're super bright and they're also kind of leading onto the character themselves, also there's some color discrepancy between the warm and the cool. So I'm just kind of curious how you're doing this, if you're doing it still in Unreal, or if you're doing the Nuke, and how much control we can have, so we can possibly refine it a little bit. Because when we're looking at image, our eyes naturally will go to the brightest or the most contrasty area. And right now, because we have some of the darkest dark and some brightest right next to each other, so the glow stands out quite a bit. We can possibly soften them them or reduce them a little. But we can worry about that later. This is not like a huge thing for us right now since we're still iterating on the lighting. And yeah, please let me know if you have any question on the notes I was giving, and yeah, and if any way I can help to get to the look that you're looking for. And I think that's it for today. Did I miss anybody? Yeah, let me download your layers, Austen.
I feel kind of nervous showing them to you.
Oh, no worries, no worries. Are they? Yeah. Did you? Let's see.
Or you might have to change the color space for them.
Color space to linear.
I can do
There
an
it is.
SRE there.
SRE. Nope. This is TV.
Oh, you had yeah.
Cool. So linear space. Cool. Fill sky. Cool. Yeah, I think one of the easiest way would just be this is oh interesting. So this is a separate lines hitting here. That's why we have the soft transition over here.
And I actually changed it since the last time I showed it to you to make it a little bit sharper as well.
Yeah, I think so. I guess this is a spotlight.
Yes, yes.
Okay. And I think what we can possibly do is use the information of the shape of the spotlight here. Possibly just okay. Yeah, we just have to. I'm not sure if let's see. This is some. Is there any way that you can possibly like do a blocker or some kind of cheat to create a sharper shadow line here?
I was trying to. I was trying to use a blocker to make a sharper one down there. But I wasn't really sure what was happening because I was trying to cover like the bottom half of the spotlight, but I was just making the thing overall a little bit darker.
Yeah, because
Um,
since you have the okay, from this pass, I have some question actually. I see that you have this sharp line, but it only happens here. It doesn't happen anywhere else. Because the
yeah,
shadow looks. Uh-huh.
I was trying to use some barn doors on it,
Mm,
and then I was trying to get it for the bottom as well, but I was just having an awful time with the settings. Um,
mm.
and I messed around with it a lot, but I just couldn't get it for some reason.
Yeah, I think right now the barn door is probably not helping us that much because I can see the barn door is actually extremely sharp. Like there's no transition of soft to it, and with sunlight coming from that distance, with the building going from top to here, we was probably expecting to see this kind of blurriness, this blur level on this line as well. So
Mhm.
I'm trying to think. Yeah, I think if hmm, Yeah, I think we'll have to possibly, instead of using a spotlight, it might be better to use um, a directional light like what you have here and just cheat. So we position this kind of directional light into an angle that can hit these places that you want to hit. And then we can just combine these two images together if possible. So, or just having, actually, all we really need is kind of the floor. You can possibly have just um, the directional light, whatever this is creating the sunlight. If you could create a separate layer just for the floor, that could work. We actually did that quite a bit in film production too. A lot of time the sun will be coming from one angle, but if they want like the shadow of the character on the floor to aim in a certain direction, the floor itself will have a separate layer, just the floor, just the ground, and the sun is actually achieved at a different angle, but not too drastically that the people can notice, but a little bit different, so the shadow will be casting to the direction that the art that we want. Does that
Mhm.
sound possible?
Yeah, yeah, that sounds like something I can try.
Yeah, just the floor. We can just have the floor since I think all the shadows that's on the walls working. We just need something just the floor, and we can play with just how the shadow on the floor look.
Okay, all right. And
Yeah.
then when I was playing around with the shadows, did it a little bit how you just did it here. Um, is that too dark with all
Um.
the rest of the areas now?
The rest of the areas, like here,
Yeah, yeah.
I think. Let's see. Oh, what am I doing? This B. Um. Yeah, I think what you had previously on the walls. Let me see if I can find your previous version. Where is it? Oh, here it is. And now I go back to. Yeah, I think the walls are they're okay. So did you darken it as much as I did over here?
Um,
Oh no, the color
I was
space.
playing around with it,
Mm-hmm.
and I just wasn't sure where it was like too dark because it looks very drastically different from what I had before.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
So I was just having a hard time telling.
yeah. I think the look at least in this version is a slightly exposed up version, which is just the look, especially if you want a character in the foreground. Usually, if they're exposing for the character, the background tends to get a little brighter. And so I think right now, if we darken it this much, oh no, I think it's still okay. It's just goes in, it just has a little bit, yeah, it actually has more contrast to it, so I personally don't mind it. But what you have here is also very, oh no, uh, it's also nice. It's just more like a more bright, sunny, like expose up, because when you expose up, things get slightly more washed out, and it's a different type of mood. But there's nothing, it's just, there's no right or wrong with these kind of approach. It's just depending on how
Okay,
you want the image to look.
all right. Thank you.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. Do you have any other questions?
Um, I was having some issues with if you look at the very back of it, where
Mm-hmm.
the red building intersects with the other building back there, there's that shadow between both of them.
This thing?
Um, sorry, in the very back with the red building and the where they intersect the
Oh,
two
this.
buildings.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I was
Ah.
gonna ask for any advice you have on getting rid of that.
This is just like the ambient occlusion that's
Hmm.
happening when they're in the shadow. And let's see. Hmm. Usually, this probably comes from there's gap between models. I'm not sure actually. Cannot tell from the stills. Let's see. I don't see this one. Ah, it's this one. This is sunlight. Interesting. This is very interesting because there's also some color bleed from a greenish kind of color. What's between them?
or I'm looking at it right now. They are intersecting
They're
completely.
intersecting. Okay. So this could be
Yeah.
a render, just kind of artifact. If this is the
Okay.
case, yeah, the easiest way might be just comping it out, just like kind of soften it using nuke to just like soften it, blur it out. Yeah, this is definitely very interesting how it's having these. And now you mention it, I also see it here. This edge is a very dark black edge for an area that's hit by like the secondary bounce. Yeah, I'm not sure what's happening. What render is this?
It's in Arnold.
Arnold? Okay. It could be the Geo. Don't see here. This is fine. And this is fine. Yeah. It does look a little bit noisy. Does it change anything when you up the sample?
For back there. Not really, I think.
Hmm.
The yeah.
Yeah. Because yeah, and it's interesting, this dark edge doesn't show up in your comp either, in your final image. Because there's definitely something that's really odd happening to create these. Yeah. Yeah, I'm sorry, I'm not quite sure. I'm not familiar with Arnold myself, so I can't really tell you what could possibly causing these. It definitely looks like a render artifact to me if if I don't see in any of these other passes and the geometry looks okay, but somehow these dark edges are happening. Same
Okay.
with
No
here.
problem. Thank you, Beth.
Yeah. I'm sorry, yeah, hopefully it doesn't affect the final image if you can somehow paint it out or comp it out some way.
Okay. I'll try more in Nuke then.
Yeah.
Or see and mess with my rendering more. But yeah, when I first saw it, I thought it was just like ambient occlusion stuff.
Yeah, it looks like ambient occlusion, but how many lights are in this layer?
In that one, let me go look at it real quick. I've got I think three, four lights.
I think four
Three lights
lights.
there.
3 lights? Okay. Yeah, okay, one thing that we can try if we want to figure out what is happening, uh, we can try to turn on and off the lights one by one. Turn the lights on one by one and see which one of the light is actually doing this.
Mm.
Yeah, if we want to dig deeper and figure out what actually contributing to this, and if there is one light that's doing this, we might have to compare the setting of that light to the other lights and see if there's anything different, particularly like the radius. Um, yeah, but for ray tracers, it's usually pretty straightforward.
Mm.
Yeah, but we just have to start like looking at okay, which light is doing this, and if it's that light, does it change anything if we move the light around, change any settings, and to get away with possible just get like possible, like having the same look, but not having these artifacts.
Okay.
Cool. All right. Does anyone have any other questions for me? Oh, yeah, I want to quickly talk about what Nigel asked about the monitor. And it's a very unfortunate situation. We as lighting artists, we need expensive ass color corrected monitor. There's just no way around it. Usually your job will provide one for you, and if you have the budget, you can buy one for yourself. A good one usually will cost a couple grand. Um, a while ago, I just saw the HP Dreamcolor. I can't remember. It was a 24-inch, 27-inch model that was going on sale for around $500. So that was a rare deal. Usually, I never seen a color corrected monitor goes under a grand. And at work, usually everybody will have the exact same model monitor. Everybody usually have same, and then depending on the model, either the monitor can calibrate itself, or someone at work can give you a calibrator. You can calibrate it, or someone calibrate it for you. Because as lighting artists, it is crucial for all of us to look at the same thing, or else it just goes into like wild wild west. Nobody knows if we're actually talking on the ground truth. And that actually goes for the projectors in the theater when we do review. They are special projectors that can accurately represent the colors of what we're seeing on our monitors. And even with that, sometimes there's still a slight discrepancy. And at the end, when the film is finished, they will do a process called color timing, which I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with this job. That is somebody, a colorist, will sit in the theater, a full-on theater, and have a bunch of dials in front of them, and they grade the whole movie in front of them. So color is a very sensitive thing in film production, and unfortunately, as if you have a limited budget, it's just something that we had to just kind of work with our own monitors. Right now, currently, I'm looking at your work on a personal monitor, which is not the best. It's not color corrected. It's okay, but it's definitely not like professional level. So yeah, if you feel like I'm giving notes that just doesn't look right on your monitor, just please let me know, because like somebody else was saying that if the image is properly balanced, it should look okay on all type of monitor, which is also part of the challenge that we are having right now in game industry, because in film industry it's standardized. You usually see the movie ideally in theaters, and theaters usually have some kind of standard of kind of projection and screens and stuff. However, in games, people are playing games on their own monitor or own TV, and it could be anywhere from 4K HDR fancy, super fancy TV to someone's like 20-year-old TV. We have no control over that. We just have to do our best to try to have the image that will look okay across all different type of monitors. So it's, I mean, as lighting artists, it really hurts. Like hurts. The thing that I'm looking at right now, I will never know what the actual product that people will actually see on their home. We just have to try to balance as much as we can. So yeah, I'm not sure if that helps to answer your question, Nigel. The reality is just it's not really an answer. It's just depending on how much money you want to spend on the monitor itself. And if you don't have that kind of budget, and that's fine. We just have to work with what we have. Yeah. What else? Anybody else? Yeah. Does anybody else have any question?
I think I figured out my error, my that kind of discrepancy in the lighting. I must have built one on preview lighting and uploaded that one, and then one was production lighting, and they're like, I didn't realize that those were so different. But yeah, that's what it was.
Cool. Nice. And all these quirks. It shouldn't be that different. What? You can be noisier. Reduce it.
That's what I thought. It was like it's like so different. It looks like different lighting. I'm like, I didn't
Yeah.
change any lighting, and I just realized it. So
Oh, that's unfortunate, but no worries. Yeah,
I'm yeah.
when you get a chance to
I'll stay.
upload it. Yeah. Well, all right. If that's the case, I'll probably wrap it up for tonight. And thank you all for stopping by.
Awesome. Thanks,
Thank you.
Linda.
Thank you. Bye. Have a good night.